every time I've wrestled them, like my dad's been at ringside, and I would say 9 times out of 10 they turn to my dad, and because he's my manager, and they'll talk to him like he should know the business. They're like, when we do this heat spot here, using all the jargon and stuff, and I have to pull them aside and I tell them, hey, we haven't filled my dad in on anything. Like, he just kind of knows the spot he needs to do, and that's it. He doesn't really know who's winning, doesn't really know what's happening, doesn't really know like how it all works and stuff.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 18 of That Sweet Pop. We are back from holiday, the sun is shining, the birds are singing, and we're back at work. My name's Dion and he is Brad Lewis. Thank you so much for spending time with us as we talk all things pro wrestling. Later on in the show, we're going to be talking to James Shaw, a New Zealand professional wrestler. Before we start though, do us a solid, like, subscribe, leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening on. We're now on YouTube Music. So YouTube Music or YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It really helps us out. But Brad, before we do talk into the plethora of professional wrestling news that's been occurring while we've been away, I see you've had a fantastic holiday with the fam. I see you've been enjoying the New Zealand summer. And your daughter, Charlotte, what an epic birthday.
Yeah, she did the this or that TikTok thing. I don't know, mate. My wife told me it was the thing that was hip to do, so gave her a whole bunch of options of things to do on her birthday. She had a great time. We went to Caddy. We went camping with our camping crew, which was a lot of fun. I watched the January, the opening, the Netflix on Raw anniversary show from a little hub that we had down there on the camp Wi-Fi. So thank you very much to the Sapphire Springs Wi-Fi. That was actually really good for me to be able to watch Raw. But had a great time. Sapphire Springs is a wonderful location if you want to take your family. It's about half an hour outside of Tauranga, so it's beautiful, and had a great time, mate. Attempted to climb Mount Maunganui with the kids, which is a bit of a disaster. Copenhagen Cones. Hey, look, we're looking for sponsors here on the podcast. Copenhagen Cones is a great place to get ice cream in the Mount. I'll give you the tip. Yes. So what a beautiful part of the country, Dion. Like, honestly, Tauranga, the Mount, Caddy, Waihi, just a wonderful... Man, we are so privileged. And I realize this every 12 months when we go camping to different parts of the country, just how lucky we are to live in Aotearoa, New Zealand, because honestly, we have a beautiful, beautiful country that we live in.
Yeah, no duds. We spent some time up north, some time at Doubtless Bay, Cable Bay. Fantastic ice cream shop as well, funnily enough. The weather didn't play ball, but that's okay. What I do like about today's episode, Brad, is there is so much for us to talk about. And we've barely touched base over the last month. So let's get into it because our top story is the holiday catch-up. So let's run through these things. Here's what I want to do, Brad. I literally have 18 pieces of news. 8.
And there's probably been more in the last sort of 24 hours to it, I mean.
A lot of it has been. So let's have a quick yak about them. I want you to give us a hit, a miss, or whether you're on the fence for each of these things that went down. And we kick things off with the Usos winning Tag Team Gold on WWE Raw. And personally, I'm pretty happy for Jimmy that he gets to taste a bit of success again. But for me, I feel like this is a means to an end. It doesn't feel like the earlier title runs. Something's going on here. I don't know if we're headed towards another Usos breakup, or, you know what occurred to me? Late last year, I talked about the fact that maybe Jey Uso could be, due to disciplinary reasons. I'm starting to wonder, maybe these drunk on air segments are part of an angle that's coming up. What did you think about this title win?
I think them winning the titles is a hit. For some reason, and I don't get this, and CM Punk touched on it in a podcast last week, is Jey Uso seems to be the most hated man on social media, and I don't get it. Like, the dude's obviously the most popular guy from a merch standpoint and from a crowd reaction standpoint, but I like it. The Usos are, for me, up there with the Young Bucks, the Hardy Boys, the Dudleys, as one of the greatest tag teams of all time. It also potentially gives us a dream match at WrestleMania against Penta and Rey Fenix. It's not going to happen, but God damn it, that would be a slap in the face to AEW fans, certainly if they brought the Lucha Bros back together. But I like it because it continues the storyline. We don't know where it's going, Dion. We honestly don't, and I don't think there's any legs in a Jay and Jimmy feud again. Even if Jay is the bad guy, like I can't see them turning him bad. I think this just gives them some time to reset and figure out what they want to do. And are we still going to continue a bloodline story? I don't know. But for me, it's a minor hit so far. It's certainly not a miss, and it just gives us an opportunity to see really one of the greatest tag teams of all time back in the ring. And look, just put them in banger matches. Put them in banger matches. So that's that's what I'd like to see from this.
Yeah, and good chance it's their final run. But regardless, I'm on the fence. I ain't mad, but I'm on the fence. One thing that is a huge hit for me, Carmelo Hayes winning the United States Championship on SmackDown. This is so well deserved, Brad. Some say it was a long time coming. I think the timing's about right. I think it has taken him a little while to find his feet from a character perspective. I don't think he was really connecting as the brash, arrogant newcomer on SmackDown. I've liked this new little the vibe that he's got going on, and I really like that the US Championship is continuing to be the true workers' title. It seems to be the championship that's been holding up SmackDown, if not all WWE television. Huge hit for me.
Yeah, the only minor miss for me in this is that it was on a tape show. And so knew the result before I watched the match. It was a little bit disappointing. But look, Melo deserves it. He is one of the brightest stars on what has been a pretty insipid SmackDown for the latter half of 2025. I think SmackDown was trending downwards. The last 2 weeks, they've certainly changed that. 2 great shows. And I actually think 3 hours is going to help them because it's going to give the talent more time. And clearly the game plan is to put on 15, 20-minute matches across the board. And that can only work for people like Julia and Carmelo. I think he's a placeholder champ. I think the reason is they see a rocket ship in Trick Williams, and I think they will potentially circle back to those two at some point in the next, and that could even be a WrestleMania match, Dion, Carmelo versus Trick Williams potentially. And just on Trick, he's looked like an absolute superstar in his two appearances on SmackDown. Yeah. But I love it for Melo. He is a hell of a worker, probably top 3 or 4 workers inside WWE at the moment, and he deserves this push. And the world is his. This is his opportunity. You have your ball, Melo, run with it.
Yeah, we'll certainly talk about Trick Williams coming up, but good shout that about those two potentially around WrestleMania. All right, AEW World's End, a couple of hot pieces of news coming out of this. Number 1, Mox wins the Continental Classic. I'm on the fence because I don't think Mox really needed this title. What was interesting, even though he ended this 650-day plus reign of Okada, was after the match. That post-match promo, I'm not sure if you caught this, where he thanked the fans and he thanked the wrestlers, and he was very he was very warm and fuzzy. And it's very unusual for a Mox, isn't it? It was completely out of character. I think it was a little bit of a reminder of how passionate these workers are, even though a lot of the times some of us might get on a bit of a soapbox and say how grumpy we might be with what they're putting out. In the ring. What I do like about the Continental Classic, though, especially in this era where we are littered with dusty finishes, is they are competitive matches without shenanigans. And this was a good match. I enjoyed watching Jon Moxley in a wrestling match that didn't go over the top. But yeah, I think I would have liked to have seen Okada hold on to it for a little bit longer, or maybe a Kyle Fletcher continue his rise.
Okada is the king of tournaments. He should have won it from a storyline standpoint until you find the right person to beat him, and maybe Kyle Fletcher was that guy. I thought it was probably the worst AEW pay-per-view of the year. Like, I think they've delivered tenfold with 8 out of 10 pay-per-views throughout the year. The Moxley stuff at the end didn't make any sense to me. Tony Khan has booked himself into a corner with belts, Dion. Just on that, with the unified title that Okada has, but that wasn't on the line in this match, and he's now no longer the unified champion. I don't know what's going on with that. You got the national championship that Ricochet holds. There was the international championship that Okada had, but they unified it. Look, like there's too many belts in pro wrestling, and shouldn't the Continental Classic title just be a bout that's contested over the course of that tournament, right? And that is the champion for the rest of the year. None of this unified bullshit, but I don't think the right decision was made. What I do think is interesting is both Okada and Moxley are in contract years. And so I'm going to be really interested to see how both of those guys are booked throughout the course of 2026, because we're getting to that point now where there's a real battle going on for talent. So I find that part interesting. But Mox has probably been the most protected person under Tony Khan's booking in the course of his history. Okada was probably a close second. I found it really interesting creatively why I went with Mox. I would have gone in a different direction. I think Okada, as the best tournament wrestler of all time, you had a chance to continue that until you had a Darby Allin or a Fletcher that was ready to maybe win it in 2026. But I think the Continental Classic is a fantastic creation, and you literally get the best matches of the year on television, which I think is really, really important.
Yeah. Sticking with AEW World's End, of course, MJF, the new AEW World Champion. Man, there have been a lot of title changes in the last month, Brad. We'll get to as many of them as we can. MJF is undoubtedly the hottest property in AEW, right? I think he's the kind of guy, even at this stage of his tenure with AEW, where he truly does provide must-see TV. Personally, I'm more likely to watch an AEW pay-per-view if he's in the main event. It's just the way it is. The guy is entertaining. I bet he's a nightmare to spend a bit of time with. Can you imagine going to dinner with MJF?
Yeah.
But look, him as world champion's the right move. Respectfully to Joe and Swerve and Hangman, MJF is the guy, and I really hope Tony Khan has big plans to build the promotion around MJF in 2026. Absolutely.
Don't take the belt off him. He had the title for a long time last time before Joe got it off him. I think he had the title for over a year. He is your number one star. He is it. He is the guy who people will tune in to watch. Base it around him. Tony is excellent at building baby faces. He has so many great baby faces on that roster that can feud with MJF. He's terrible at booking heels, and if it wasn't for MJF, he wouldn't have any, right? Because like he seems to really struggle in the building up a heel department. MJF is that. You've got gold. So just keep the title on him, have him beat babyface after babyface with shenanigans, without shenanigans. I do not care. Hangman Page was an absolute dud as a world champion. Samoa Joe, a brilliant placeholder because he's a believable champ. But you have gold in MJF, and you keep that title on him now until Will Ospreay is ready to be a world champion, whenever that is. And I wouldn't rush book it at All In London. If anything, have him lose to MJF at London, and you keep having him chase that title, through into 2027. But you have gold now, and you will make a superstar when you beat him for that title. Will Ospreay's the right man to do that. It's just whether or not Tony Khan has the patience, Dion, to hold that as long as he can until the time is right.
Yeah. And a few bits of news out of the first 3 hours SmackDown. First off, the returns of Randy Orton and Matt Cardona. Awesome. And did you notice they did the Cena SummerSlam entrance with Cardona? You remember the white on black and then the color for Cena? The same thing for Matt Cardona, right? Zack Ryder. Matt Cardona.
Yes.
Matt Cardona. It was his first WWE match in 6 years, I think it was. Very similar story to Cody Rhodes, right? That Retribution arc.
Andrew
gets dumped by the company. Andrew, you're right. Goes to the Indies, builds a big name for himself, comes on back. Look, do I think we're going to see Matt Cardona holding the WWE Championship like Cody or Drew? Unlikely, but possible. But I am hoping for a successful run here. I hope it's not a short nostalgia run. I hope we see him with the US Championship at some stage soon. And how good for he and his wife, Chelsea Green, by all accounts. This looks like an incredibly tight couple. Must be a lot of fun for them to be able to spend some time on the road.
Yeah, just reading a couple of things. John Cena had a lot to do with Matt Cardona getting his job back or getting re-employed, which I think goes to show what a great influence John has. But look, I think in a guy like Matt Cardona, and you have someone that you have a workhorse, right? You have a guy that's going to work and he's going to have the crowd with him. You could turn him heel if you needed to because he's done a great job on the Indies as a heel. And you could slot him into a world title program over the course of the month mid-year, right? Like in between a SummerSlam and a Survivor Series, you could see Matt Cardona in a world title program coming out on the short end of the stick, but he'd be a believable guy. Maybe he wins a King in the Ring or something like that and gets a title match. But he's certainly you can see him in a US title picture, but you can slot him into any feud to do a great job. And I think he'll be great for the young guys on that show. And given the fact it's a 3 hours, you need more and more people. And he's a guy that you can build heels up against as well. If you bring a giant heel and like a Trick Williams, you have him beat a guy like Matt Cardona and he gets cred. So love it. Love the return of Randy. I think Randy is the interesting story of 2026 for me, where they go with him, because there's so many places you can go. And he is must-watch television. Just hope I just going to put my trust that creative get it right, because there's money in Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes.
All right, sounds like a hit for both of us. Another hit for me, also from that 3-hour SmackDown, Julia winning the US Championship, defeating Chelsea Green. I was a little bit on the fence when this first happened because, it shows that they're still big on Julia, but Chelsea's been such a great US champion, and it's been great for her just to elevate, remembering that she's the first, fourth, and final United States champion, no longer. But if the WWE wants to elevate the US Championship in the women's division like they have in the men's division, and like the Intercontinental Championship has been in the women's division, feels like Julia might be the right choice for that, respectfully to Chelsea Green. And of course, Chelsea, as we've thought in the past or discussed in the past, maybe she's going to be carrying a briefcase come September.
I'd like to see that for sure. Look, a hit for me in the right creative decision. Probably should never have put the title back on Chelsea in the first place. I think they're really struggling finding their creative niche with Julia. I think you just book her like you do Io Sky and put her in banger matches. And Io Sky got over Hal Dion by being the best wrestler on the planet. And Julia is not far behind her. So just have her wrestle. I don't like the Kiana James hook. I just think you have her be by herself. She got over in NXT like that. She doesn't need to cut promos. She's a fantastic wrestler. I think they're doing all they can right now. They just need to do a little bit more. Chelsea doesn't need a title, Dion. She doesn't need it as a prop. She's great by herself. She's a great promo. She's believable as the slimy little heel that gets out of gets through stuff by any means necessary. It was a cool little title run. I love her first, fourth, and final, and now she's going in next or something like that. I think she said the other day. A minor hit for me. It'll be a major hit if they can make the most out of Julia creatively.
Also from that 3-hour SmackDown, and we'll get to the 3 stages of hell a little bit later, but the build between Drew and Cody was the type of deeply personal feud that we've been calling for Cody Rhodes, and it has been a slow burn to a certain extent between these two, right? Well, the embers have carried on for quite some time, but man, did things get personal. And seeing that image of Drew in the middle of the ring, burning that photo of Cody Rhodes and Dusty, fans online were losing their minds like this was a shoot. How dare they burn that and do this to Cody Rhodes? This is unbelievable. I switched off. That's what he's supposed to do. He's a heel. He's a bad guy. He needs to get us emotionally invested in this match. And I was very happy that, again, Cody had something to really sink his teeth into.
Good build.
Versus just another challenger.
Yeah, good build. And Drew's been the perfect fodder for Cody. I think the television they have produced, their segments, their vignettes that they've shot at Drew's house, at Cody's house, I think a massive bouquet of flowers to the role that Nick Aldis has played in all of this as well. I think he is arguably the best television authority figure I think we've ever seen, certainly since Vince McMahon in his heyday. I think Nick Aldis does a fantastic job because you've got that little caveat there that you know that he can kick your ass if he wants to, right? Because he's a former NWA and TNA world champ. The guy's a badass. So, a bouquet of flowers to him. It's been booked. Everything that Cody does is booked reasonably well. There's obviously a lot of thought gone into that. But, I really like the build to that, and actually led to what we got in the end, which was Drew being crowned champ, which is well deserved.
All right, that leads us across to Japan and Wrestle Kingdom. Henare returns, New Zealand's own, competing in front of 46,000 people in the Tokyo Dome. You talk about a pressure cooker of a return. He looked fantastic. The United Empire looked great. They took the victory, and he backed it up the following day with another match on New Year's Dash where he got the pinfall victory for the United Empire, and it feels like there are big things on the horizon for that faction this year, which is great news for Henare.
Yeah, and it's my first Wrestle Kingdom that I've tried to watch from start to finish. Was really interested in the two main events on that show. Loved seeing Hanade in action. Man, he can go. Like, it was my first sort of exposure to him from bell to bell. Really enjoyed it. What a great show as well that was. And they may have found a new Japanese wrestling fan in Brad Lewis. I'm telling you, because I really enjoyed what I see. It's so different. And Hanade sort of like gave me a reality check when we had him on the show. We talked about like, how different Japanese wrestling is to American wrestling. I've never sort of exposed myself to it, but thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought he was awesome. And I thought the whole show was a hit, Dion. I thought it was really, really good. I'll be interested to get your thoughts though, just on that. I don't know if you're going there next, and I apologize if you are, but kind of disappointed. And I believe that CMLL might have had a role to play in this more than AEW, but slightly disappointed that WWE didn't let Shinsuke Nakamura appear for Tanahashi's last match, because I know how close those guys are. He's very close with Okada and Takashita as well. But the reports are that because WWE and AAA have they own them, that CMLL, who have a working relationship within New Japan, actually vetoed Nakamura appearing, which is really interesting.
Yeah, all sorts of politics going on this one. It's worse than the UN Security Council. But either way, it is disappointing that Shinsuke wasn't able to be there for that last match of Tanahashi. Speaking of which, and I do want to talk about Shinsuke a little bit later, funnily enough, but Tanahashi's last match, what an incredible main event for you to dip your toes into Japanese wrestling, Brad. This was a really, really great match. Technically fantastic. From start to finish. I love the stars coming to the ring one by one at the end. Man, I wish they did that with Cena. It was a really great touch, including New Zealand's own Jay White. Kenny Omega was there. Will Ospreay came out. Tetsuya Naito came out there as well. Really emotional send-off. And he lost his final match, Brad, and nobody lost their minds.
Yeah. Like, I think it's just WWE hate, Dion, the whole John Cena thing, but that's for another day. And look, really enjoyed it. Like I love fast matches, you know that, but I also love story. That there was some slow parts, but I totally get why there was, because they were telling a story. And there's so much history between Okada and Tanahashi that I don't know a lot about, right? So I was trying to educate myself on that online throughout the course of the match. But yeah, I think it was definitely one of the best technical working man's matches that I think I've ever seen. I know Dave Meltzer gave it like 7.5 stars or something like that, which is, I imagine he was having a wet dream while he was watching that match, because it was probably everything that he loves about wrestling. But man, my appreciation for Okada in the last month has just gone through the roof. Like, that dude is so good, Dion. Like, and I've seen him occasionally in AEW, but that was a fantastic match. He did a lot of the work in that, a lot of the selling, and really enjoyed it. And Tanahashi, man, what an absolute legend. Clearly has the respect of every single person that's ever worked in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Definitely worth tracking down some more Okada matches from his time in Japan. As our friend David Dunn often says, if there's only one New Japan show you're going to watch this year, it should be Wrestle Kingdom. All right, we are halfway through. We're halfway through the news. There's still more to come. Raw on Netflix, the anniversary show. Rio win the tag team titles against the Kabuki Warriors, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. What an incredible tag team this is, right? The only downside for me is Rhea Ripley doesn't have complete focus on the singles division. But again, this might be a case of WWE just have these riches of singles talent at the moment. It almost feels like Rhea's probably parked in this tag team and in this program with the Kabuki Warriors as we head into WrestleMania season, and I'm sure it will head into something more in the future. Rhea Ripley clearly has many more singles world championships in front of her. Happy that they're tag champs at the moment.
A hit for me. A hit for me. And I do wonder if we're heading to some sort of TLC women's match at WrestleMania for the tag titles with all of the teams that are involved. It does scare me a little bit, because my wish in life is to see Rhea Ripley and Stephanie Vaquer in a WrestleMania main event. I don't know if we're going to get that now. I mean, the way that's heading right now, it kind of looks like Raquel Rodriguez is going to have have a rocket ship strapped to her as what does she call herself? Big Daddy. I know, Big Mummy Cool, I think she's calling or something like that, like, which is great. But Big Sexy Cool, I think she's calling herself. That's it, Big Sexy Cool, which I think is awesome. But yeah, like, look, love the tag team. I love what they've done with the tag team division. I also, the devil's advocate in me, Dion, I also it's no coincidence that AEW has women's tag team titles that are newly minted, and WWE is all of a sudden giving a crap about women's tag team wrestling and creating all these tag teams. I actually think that Lash and Nia have been a really good pairing. I think their sarcasm has been quite enjoyable on television. Obviously, Alexa and Charlotte have been great. Asuka and Kairi are awesome. There's some other tag teams floating around there as well. So I think we're heading to some sort of potential Mania match with Fallout post-Mania between all of those teams. So yeah, and I enjoy Rio as a team. I just really want to see Rhea involved in a marquee singles match at WrestleMania, but my gut's telling me that maybe that's not where we're heading at the moment. So yeah, we'll see how all that plays out.
And you may be onto something to get all these incredible women on the WrestleMania card. That's one way of solving it. Another championship change: Becky Lynch wins the Intercontinental Championship against Maxine Dupree, and she and Lyra Valkyria, Becky Lynch, pronouns pal, need to take a lot of credit for making the Women's Intercontinental Championship the real hit that it is. You remember when we were getting into WWF back in the day, the 80s and 90s, the Intercontinental Championship was the working man's title. And that's what this has become. It feels to me anyway for the women's division. Bit of a shame that Maxine didn't hold on to it for longer. I would have liked for her to hold onto the title for 4 or 5 months and maybe elevate her a little bit more. Again, we don't know what's coming. And like Rhea Ripley, it sort of feels like it's a bit of a placeholder for Becky on the road to WrestleMania. Bigger things to come for her. So I'm on the fence with this one. I love Becky, but I kind of would have liked Maxine to hold for longer.
It's a hit for me because I know what's coming. And also, like, Maxine's win was a hit because why did that title match mean so much when Maxine did win the title? Because of what Becky and what Lyra have done for the Intercontinental title, right? And a massive bouquet to Maxine Dupree, who is the most improved wrestler on the face of the planet. Right? Like, in terms of mainstream, big promotion wrestler, Maxine Dupree can go. And considering she was laughed out of the building at a Royal Rumble a couple of years ago when she tried to do a Hurricane Rana or a flying head scissors that did not go so well, and the promo that she cut on Raw this past week, the intensity when she said, "I'm going to break your ankle," I really like what they're doing with her, man. There's places you can go with that. So she's been the big winner out of this. And by all my understanding from what I'm reading is that Becky's a big fan of Maxine as well and has been really big in building Maxine up to the point where she can go on post this feud and do her own thing, which is great. We're clearly heading towards AJ Lee and Becky Lynch in a marquee Intercontinental title match at WrestleMania when I predict that AJ Lee probably wins the title. I'd imagine we're going to see AJ in Saudi. She's going to throw Becky out of the ring, and that's going to set us up for a WrestleMania match for the Intercontinental title, and that's going to mean a lot. So yeah, it's a hit for me because we're heading towards a high-profile match at WrestleMania that doesn't involve a world title, which I think is really important.
Where's Natty Neidhart? Just popped into my head. Where's Natty?
She'll be there. Give us time.
I hope so.
Maybe she comes back as a monster heel and costs Maxine the title match because that rematch is happening on Tuesday, Maxine versus Becky and the next Raw. So potentially maybe
Royal
see some sort of...
off.
Yeah, we're going to see Natty soon.
Yeah. All right, that takes us to NXT New Year's Evil. Obafemi vacates the NXT Championship. What a unique end to New Year's Evil that was. We see Ava talking to the roster backstage, talking about all of the talent that has moved on to the main roster as they bring talent in from Evolve. And then all of a sudden we move to the shot of the championship belt in the middle of the ring, Obafemi clearly having left it behind. I am on the fence with this one because why did he win the title a month ago?
Yeah.
Why not keep it on Ricky Saints? You know, that's if we start delving into the booking side of things versus the suspend our disbelief side of things. Either way, happy that Obafemi is headed to the main roster, and it does give us an opportunity for the usual qualification matches and who's going to be the next NXT champion. Thoughts?
Oba coming to the main roster is a hit for me, and WWE has a unique opportunity to do something very unpredictable, and that's have Obafemi debut on the main roster at the Royal Rumble and win it and challenge Drew McIntyre for the title at WrestleMania, which is definitely, I don't think that's out of the realms of possibility. You're right about taking the title off him to give it to Ricky Saints for a cup of coffee and then have Ricky lose. I guess they wanted Oba and Cody at Saturday night's main event and involve Drew in that to help with that and then sort of give Oba something post call up. But yeah, I thought New Year's Eve was a really good card, focused mostly on women, which I thought was really, really great. Really like Izzy Dame. Man, she's got a great look. And like what they're doing with Blake Monroe as well. But yeah, I like the vacation, Asuka Styles, and Obafemi is now going to be a bona fide star heading into the main roster. Everyone knows who he is. He's been on TV with Saturday Night's Main Event. I would imagine we see him at the Rumble, which will be the next time we see him. And I think he's going to get the Diesel spot and could potentially even win the thing. So yeah, let's I know you'll probably agree with me, but I just don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Obafemi wins the Rumble and then beats Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania.
I disagree with you. He's going to at some stage. He's going to at some stage, and yeah, it could happen. But yeah, time will tell. We're on the home stretch. 4 bits of news from SmackDown in Berlin. How good are you Berlinese? Are you a Berlinite? If you were at SmackDown in Berlin, so much that went down. First, Trick Williams debuting, jumping in the ring, interrupting Randy Orton. He held his own on the mic. He looked $1 million. He really did. Got the victory against Ray Phoenix. This is great. It's a hit for me. The only thing I wish they'd done slightly different was if perhaps he'd won with his finisher versus a roll-up. Doesn't feel like there was much to be gained by a sneaky victory like that where he could have been a bit more dominant and not really hurt Ray Phoenix. Either way, welcome to the main roster, Trick Williams.
Yeah, and he looked like $1 million the week before when he turned up with whatever, like he looked like a superstar with his outfit. He looks great in white ring gear. I just think he looks like an absolute superstar. He's got awesome entrance music. He's athletic. I think his TNA title run did him wonders for his confidence. And he looks like an absolute star. I love how they're just intertwining all of these different people with each other. Like you got Sammy and Randy and Trick, and they're all involved in their own little thing. Then you got Drew involved with all of them as well. So I think that's kind of cool. And I think Trick Williams could be the breakout superstar of 2026 when it comes to WWE. I think they really see something in that guy. I'd like to see them keep him on a different show to Obafemi. And that's not a racial thing. It's not because they're both like African Americans and bulky. I just think that they have a lot of history in NXT, and that's something you can play at a little bit later on. And also potentially you've got 2 guys that a lot of people want to see go at it, and I think we need to keep them apart for a little bit. So like I said, I think the US title is Trick Williams' immediate future, and I think he wins it pretty soon, potentially as early as WrestleMania.
Yeah. A couple of other quick bits of news from SmackDown in Berlin. One, Jordynne Grace finally debuts. Now, she's been in and around the fringes of the main roster for quite some time. This feels long overdue. What I really liked about SmackDown in Berlin and Jordynne Grace's involvement in it was the interaction with Jade Cargill. Immediately elevating her into the main event picture. Not a surprise. She could have stepped into it a year ago. Huge hit for me. Happy to see her in the main roster.
Yeah, Jordynne Grace debut a hit. Her entrance music, massive miss. It's so generic, and she deserves more than that. So WWE, give her a better entrance song. Her TNA entrance theme was awesome, so I don't know why they went away with that. So big hit for me. I kind of think maybe we're getting that at Rumble or Saturday Night's Main Event. Or maybe the SmackDown before the Royal Rumble. We'll see how that all plays out. Jordynne Grace is awesome, believable opponent for Jade. Unfortunately, I don't think she's going to get the win. I think there's a Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill's future at WrestleMania. But yeah, love Jordynne. I think SmackDown needs believable woman. Jordynne Grace versus Julia sort of post-WrestleMania is something I'd like to see them sort of head towards. I think the US title is where Jordynne could shine. As a star, and she's someone that at any point, Dion, they can pop her into a world title mix, and she's believable as a contender because she's so good in the ring, and she's ridiculously strong. ridiculously strong.
Yeah, she really is. Yeah. Also from SmackDown in Berlin, Carmelo Hayes defeating Shinsuke Nakamura. Good to
What a
see again
match.
these competitive matches for the United States Championship. Huge hit for me. It was great seeing Carmelo have to fight from underneath. What are they doing with Shinsuke though? I mean, we go back to Wrestle Kingdom. Wouldn't it be kinder to let this guy go and finish off his career in Japan? I don't know if that's what he wants to do, but it feels like he's still got so much more to give. There's just not enough room for him. It was good that he got this showcase at least.
Yeah, great match. Shinsuke can still go. I kind of feel like he's just there now to slot in whenever they need him, and he may be completely happy with that. We just don't know, right? Like, and this may be all that his body can handle at this point in his career. Clearly, Triple H is a big fan of Shinsuke Nakamura, and if you look at his tenure in creative, he's really tried a couple of times to build Shinsuke into this monster heel with the like the Asian type graphics and the promos, the samurai promos that he's cut with subtitles and what have you. It just didn't click right, didn't quite work. And you know, just give me Shinsuke with the sing along music and a badass with his what's his move called? The Shinkasa, I think it is. Like always forget
Kinshasa.
Kinshasa. And yeah, do you know? I watched the other day was the 2018 Rumble that he won. I think it was 2018
Yes.
Dion. Man, he was so over. Came in at number 14, was in the ring for 40 minutes, threw out Roman Reigns and John Cena at the back end of that event. And he was just so over with the crowd that he was the guy they wanted to win. So I love Shinsuke. I just think he's there to be there and to slot him whenever they need him. And I think we will get, at some point in 2026, AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura again.
Oh, yes, please. Yes, please. Just a quick duty of care check. We have 3 left. Are you hanging in there?
I'm still here, mate. Raring to go.
Excellent.
Let's go.
We've got 3 more. And this is the biggest piece of news from the holiday break, and one we could probably spend half an hour talking about, but we've only got about 90 seconds. So SmackDown in Berlin, Drew McIntyre is your new WWE champion, winning the 3 stages of hell over Cody Rhodes. Personally, I just want to talk about the ending for mine. I love the ending. I love the chaos about it all, the irony that Cody was the one screwed out of the championship when Drew's been talking about how often he's screwed out of things. And I love the return of Jacob Fatu, or that he was somewhat involved in attacking both of them. I think we can probably put away the black hoodie and the ski mask now. That thing's probably got to be pretty sweaty. About 12 people have worn it in the last 6 weeks. So I hope they're putting it through the wash. Your thoughts on Drew winning the title?
Couldn't be a more deserved bloke in professional wrestling. I loved it because the groan from myself and from that audience, happy to see Jacob Fatu, but then, oh crap, he's going to cost Drew the match and Cody's going to win. And then the swerve, the double swerve, if you would, where Cody comes over and goes, you know, don't F with my match, and then Jacob beats the shit out of him. And then there's also these questions of, does Jacob actually know who attacked him? Because that's, of course, why he's been gone from television, because he got beat up and stuff thrown on him out back. So is it Drew? Is it Cody? Is it someone else? Is it Randy Orton? So, I enjoyed the return. I think we're probably going to potentially get a triple threat match at some point between those 3. But there's so much storytelling left to be done, Dion, when it comes to those 3 guys, and Sami Zayn, Randy Orton as well, when it comes to top of the card and SmackDown.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Jacob Fatu belongs in the world title picture. I don't want to see him anywhere removed from that over the course of this year. So yeah, like I'm happy to see Jacob Fatu back, because I think he has the potential to be the guy.
All right, the European tour continued as Raw moved on to Dusseldorf, and the tension between Adam Pearce and the Vision, man, I like this a lot. Adam Pearce, you talked earlier about Nick Aldis being a great authority figure. So is Adam Pearce. This is the first time that I think we've had 2 authority figures on WWE television who are just great in their roles. They both really are. Adam Pearce just absolutely losing it backstage and frothing at the mouth and being so upset with what's happening here with the Vision and the amount of chaos that they are causing, and not caring about the fact that Bron Breakker is going to be the meal ticket of WWE for quite some time, and suspending him. But of course, Paul Heyman then saying that, look, you put your hands on him first.
Brilliant.
You made a terrible mistake. I do wonder where this is going, whether Heyman now has him in the palm of his hand, and whether he's going to ask Pearce just to do his bidding. Otherwise, I'm going to take away your livelihood, Mr. Pearce. It's going to be very interesting to see how this progresses. Maybe maybe Paul Heyman becomes the interim GM of Raw after he gets rid of Adam Pearce. That'd be interesting.
My prediction is that this is heading to Braun Breaker being the number 30 entrant in the Royal Rumble. So Paul Heyman gets the lawyers involved. Right, we will not pursue any more legal avenue if you give Braun Breaker the number 30 slot in the Royal Rumble. So that's where I can see that heading. I've been way off the mark with my predictions, but hey, I think that makes a really, really good storyline. It makes Braun the undoubted favorite of the Rumble, and I don't think he's winning the Royal Rumble, but it certainly makes him the favorite to do so. I don't know. Do you think we're heading towards a match between Braun and Adam Pearce because it's got so personal? I know there was a tease of Roman and Adam Pearce several moons ago when Roman was the tribal chief, but it kind of feels like, because Adam Pearce is certainly tough enough to stick up for himself. Now Braun Breaker would destroy him, but or is there a guy, I don't know, like an Ayatollah of rock and roller that might do Adam Pearce's bidding for him?
Maybe so.
Or a Seth Rollins or something like that. So,
well, I mean, look, Pearce is a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion. For quite some time that he's been in the ring, and he's got a physique under that suit. He can't stand up to Braun Breaker from a worked or a shoot perspective, I'm sure. Yeah. But something's going on. Something's going on there. It wouldn't surprise me if we see some phicality from him sometime in the future. Whether it's part of this angle, who knows? I think
it feels like it's more a Paul Heyman moving his chess pieces kind of storyline, I think so. Much like the Favor was last year with the CM Punk storyline. So it just had me thinking that this is leading to something really big where Paul Heyman will be able to manipulate the company to favor his boys.
All right, our last piece, by the way, that's a hit for me. Our last piece of news.
Great angle.
TNA Thursday Night Impact debuted on AMC Friday afternoon New Zealand time. Hot on the heels of the news that Nick Nemeth has re-signed with the company. AJ Styles kicked the show off, welcomed everyone to Thursday Night Impact. He had his eye on the Impact World Championship, so I imagine we're going to see that at some stage. A couple of surprises: Daria Ray, the former Sonya Deville, debuting; Cora Jade debuting, of course, as Aliana Black. And Mike Santana winning the World's Heavyweight Championship for a second time. You know, there have been some big moments in TNA history. You think of the Spike TV deal, Kurt Angle coming in, Hogan and Bischoff running creative, the sale to Anthem, the recent association with WWE. This feels like another in a long series of big opportunities for TNA. I can't help but think maybe Hogan and Bischoff's association aside, that this may be the biggest. It really feels like they're on the cusp of something huge.
Well, this is huge for them. They've sold a multi-million-dollar television deal, which enables them to hopefully keep a lot of talent. Now, they've just lost the Rascals, of course, who have signed with AEW. And I think there's going to be a genuine shift now of Tony Khan's focus to TNA, right? And in terms of trying to take away their talent, and WWE is going to do all they can to prevent that. And I think you're going to see a lot of AAA talent in TNA as well. And WWE is certainly going to weaponize TNA against AEW. But haven't seen the show yet. Can't wait to see it. Nick Nemeth is awesome. Love him. AJ Styles is 100%, I believe, ending his career as TNA World Champion. I think, and I wouldn't be surprised if WWE allow his final match to be on TNA against a Frankie Kazarian or someone like that he's got history with. Unfortunately, Christopher Daniels and Samoa Joe are out of the question, but AJ Styles is TNA, right? Like he typifies everything about TNA wrestling. So he'll be involved somehow. I think AJ Styles and Leon Slater is a match we're going to see this year as well. But I really like it that we have a plan now. AMC, for those that don't know, pretty big network in the US. It's been the home of Walking Dead and that whole series. This is their first foray into sports / entertainment. They've never done this before, so it's new for them. I'm going to be really interesting to see what the ratings are from this from a US standpoint tomorrow when they come out, because it's certainly going to create a lot of vitriol on social media because the AEW sickos have got their undies in a string around what's been happening in the last sort of wee while with TNA. But I think we as fans can only win out of this, having three major US promotions with television shows weekly. like we're the winners out of this. I haven't seen the show, so my question to you, and I will watch it probably by the time people will watch this, but what did you make of the production, the commentary, just the general presentation, segments and flow and all that sort of stuff? Because you've watched as much wrestling as any human being on the planet.
Yeah, look, it was fantastic. The production really was top notch. Look, they've had a lot of practice. They do know what they're doing, but they just need the money behind them to make sure that they can get it to the level that it needs to be. The arena looked fantastic. It was packed. It was as good as any wrestling production that you're going to see, notwithstanding the likes of WWE that can throw $4.5 billion at things now because they got that Saudi money. But yeah, really good. I'm really excited for TNA. And now this gives me a reason to want to watch TNA and keep up with things on a weekly basis versus popping in and popping out every now and then.
One more piece of news. And I think this is significant given Obafemi's promotion into WWE. Will Powerhouse Hobbs, on his way to WWE, has let his contract run out with AEW. I actually thought he might be a chance to show up on TNA television, given that he hasn't actually made his official final appearance for AEW. The Ops lose the trios titles to Hangman Page and Jet Speed on Collision. I think Powerhouse Hobbs could be money. He is a WWE Vince McMahon type looking dude in terms of the guy that Vince liked. And you could slot him straight in that Obafemi slot. And I would say, do not be surprised if Powerhouse Hobbs debuts in that ladder match for the title in a couple of weeks' time, or the Battle Royal, whatever it is, and wins it. I think you could see Powerhouse Hobbs winning the AEW. He has history with Ricky Saints as well, given they're in the same faction together. So I think that might be where TNA goes at heading into Stand and Deliver, and Tony D'Angelo will be involved as well. But yeah, Powerhouse Hobbs, big signing for WWE NXT moving forward.
Yeah, he is a beast. And I think you're right. I think we will see him in NXT ahead of the main roster. But again, anything's possible. We've still got a 3-hour SmackDown. All right, I need to sleep after all that. But we're not going to sleep because after the break, we're going to be speaking with New Zealand professional wrestler James Shaw right after this.
What up, guys? It's your girl. It's the matriarch, Mighty Mai here, and you're listening to That Sweet Pop.
Our guest today is arguably New Zealand's most prolific performer in the New Zealand scene, capturing 40 championships, including 7 New Zealand heavyweight titles. From Misha Ivanov to the Divine Light, his character-driven presentation has captivated audiences up and down the country, and his mind for the business has helped drive the sport from behind the scenes. Ranked in last year's PWI 500, he's set for another big year in the ring, and he joins us for a chat today, ladies and gentlemen, James Shaw.
Hello.
Settle down. Settle down.
Here he is.
Thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Hey, how was Christmas?
Christmas was great. It's been good kind of resting the body a bit because I had quite a full-on year last year. I think I had like maybe 5 weekends off. So
wow.
It's been good to kind of like have double that amount off, like another 5 weeks off. So yeah,
interesting.
But we're getting back into it in Feb. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I've been back to training now, like going full tit now. So it kind of doesn't feel like, it feels like it's back into season now.
Yeah. Hey, now I've told you this before. I remember when you were a fan of IPW back in it must have been the early mid 2000s, because even as a fan, you stood out. Yeah. I'd be sitting there commentating with James Cardno. There's a name you haven't heard for a while. And here's this young guy leaning over the rail, essentially performing, but he's just one of the young fans there. And I've got a really specific visual of you. I can see it right now in my head of you with those snake lollies out of your mouth being the boogeyman.
The boogeyman, yeah.
And you were a fan at that point, so you were destined to being a star in the New Zealand scene. Before we get into your career, can you tell us how you discovered New Zealand wrestling as a fan and what your memories are of IPW from back in those days?
So just before, I just want to correct you one thing. They weren't snake lollies. They were shredded socks.
Were they?
Yeah. I don't know
I'm
why.
old, but the mind's going.
Yeah, I know. It's an obscure thing. Anyway, your question. So how I got into New Zealand wrestling, I was at that point, I was a bit of a late bloomer watching wrestling on TV. I started watching when Batista and Triple H were feuding leading up to their WrestleMania match.
Ruthless.
I started watching that on Sky around 2005, and I really started getting into it. I was like, man, this is so amazing, and I almost like felt left out that I hadn't got into it earlier, because I was like, man, I've missed out. And at that point, you couldn't really rewatch wrestling; like it was very hard to rewatch Raws and stuff. So I just made it a point. I was like, at this point forth, I'm just gonna consume everything wrestling because this is amazing. So I watched for about a year, and I remember around maybe it was probably about a year. I remember it was around July-ish in 06. I remember just jumping on Google and I was like, there has to be something in New Zealand. Like, I was just like, at this point, I decided I kind of wanted to be a pro wrestler at this point from seeing what I saw on television, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. And I remember just jumping on Google. I was like, I'm just going to search. And I just remember looking up New Zealand wrestling. And that's when your website popped up, NZPWI. And I was like, oh, wow, there is stuff in New Zealand. Like, so then at that point, I remember seeing the IPW website and stuff, going to that. And I was looking at the roster page and I was like, now, bear in mind, this was a Sunday and they had just had a show the night before and I just missed out. I was like, oh, man. So I remember getting the next date and I told my dad, I was like, do you want to go see this? Like, it might not be as good as the WWE, but like it's in New Zealand, it's local. We'll see what it's like. And I remember like counting down like the month pretty much, like every week. And so then we went to our first event and that was where Alfred Valentine and Kingy were wrestling in the ladder match.
Wow.
And I was like, man, this is pretty cool. And
Linfield Rec Centre, no doubt.
Yeah, the mecca of New Zealand wrestling, I call it. So yeah, from that point on, I was just kind of glued. I came to every single show and hooked, they could say.
So how old were you when you started training?
I was, so I started watching 15. I started coming to shows when I was 16. And then for 6 months, I went to every single show. And at the end of that year, they did a tryout. I remember I was emailing the website constantly for tryout, because they had if you wanted to be a tryout. So I did the tryout when I was 16, started training. Yeah. So right, about 16 and a half was about when I started training.
And am I right in saying when you debuted, that was with, was that with Joe Kincaid and Mr. 100%? Or did you?
No. My first ever match was at Armageddon against Danny Jacobs. That was my first singles match. Super nervous. That's when I made the Misha character. Right. And I was kind of just a low card heel, which like was good. You kind of need those, it's good for new people to start out that way. At the time, I didn't see it that way, but like looking back at it, I'm like, that's the perfect position for someone to learn and like kind of get like accustomed to the card, just be a low card, mid card guy, just losing a lot of matches and stuff, which is fine. And then I remember, I think I did that for about a year. And then I approached Gary Davis with the idea, because at that point I became friends with Joe, like backstage, like really close with him. And then I'd run that idea. I was like, could I be your like apprentice? And then I just approached them. And it was the first time I went to the bookers like with an idea. And I was like, they're probably going to shoot this down. And I remember I just approached him. I was like, could I become Joe's like apprentice? And at that point, Joe was getting quite a big push. So I was like, it just probably won't suit me because like Joe's getting pushed into the main and I'm like this little guy that's like lower in the card. But lo and behold, Ost liked the idea. And then he just pretty much partnered me up with him. And then that's where I really started to learn just watching Joe wrestle. And it was, I say that's like my biggest point where I started like really kind of understanding wrestling. Just watching Joseph Kincaid like every night, you're just at ringside,
So I have been a wrestling fan a very, very long time, James, but I've sort of only been attending IPW events since I think my first IPW event was the Eliminator when Jamie Tunga lost the title to and then Jake Sheehan, Charlie Roberts. It was Charlie Roberts, I think. And I just remember you that night being the Divine Savior. So I'm unfamiliar with the stuff you were doing before that, and I've always had this like knowledge gap where you come out in your orange and your red and yellow, and I'm sitting there going, this looks really cool, but I have no idea what this is sort of calling back to. So for me, I only know you as the Divine Savior. So can you sort of, for people that may have only just started watching IPW in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, what was that sort of character like that you were playing pre the Divine Savior, which by the way, I pop for every time you come out.
Yeah, that character was interesting because it was I'd kind of turned babyface. Like I started getting really over as a babyface in like 2013. Like, and they started really pushing me as like super underdog kind of like Daniel Bryan babyface, which really suited my size and the way I wrestled and stuff. I was really good at selling and stuff. And that's when I started wearing the red and yellow and stuff, and I kind of started adapting that. So the first half of that character was just a silly underdog. Like I was very silly and comedic, but then when it came to fighting, I like switched on and like the silliness kind of stopped.
Yeah.
And like it was kind of like Deadpool in a way, but then when the fighting started, it was very just locked in. That being said, though, I was very young and probably didn't really understand how to portray a character. So like that was probably my intention, but it probably didn't come off that way. Yeah. And then the second half of that character was when I turned heel, and that's when I introduced my dad as my manager.
Yeah.
And we started the daddy's boy gimmick, like where like I was just like a complete daddy's boy and like don't hurt my dad like type thing.
Brilliant.
And like he was my manager, and I was just kind of the whole thing was that he corrupted me because I won the contract. The whole story of that is I won the contract, which gives you a title match whenever. And I'd just been through a losing streak for about a year, and I gave it to my dad in the ring, and I said, I want my dad to decide when I cash this in. And everyone like gave it a big applause. But then later that night when Brooke Duncan wins the title, that's when Dad comes out and he's like, cash in now, like a real vulnerable moment. And it was a real nasty moment. And that's when we had like solidified the heel turn.
Brilliant.
So then from there on, that was where like I was just like almost kind of obsessed with my dad, and like we would do things like, it sounds stupid, but we'd kiss on the lips and stuff in the ring. I'd be like, that's all right. I love my dad. I'm allowed to do that.
Brilliant.
What's wrong with that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did. And I did like I quit matches, and like a lot of the times it was just the guy. Like I remember Charlie Roberts just threatening to super kick my dad, and that's how I lost. I'd be like, I quit, don't hurt my dad. So stuff like that.
And your dad is phenomenal, and like and I don't know what his background is, if he's ever acted or anything like that, but honestly, like never speaks, but goddamn, like and you know what, and obviously it's a work on in terms of the gimmick that you're portraying as the divine savior, but is it kind of cool and surreal just to see him, and he also gets some of the biggest pops of the night, and just the way he's able to connect with the audience without even interacting with them, if you sort of know what I'm saying, like
100%.
Yeah, you must be actually really proud of him when you see him do stuff like that.
I the most fun I have is with my dad out there, like, and Dion can even attest to this. I've had a tag match with my dad.
Brilliant.
Which was like, I never thought I would ever tick off ever, but like that was super fun. My dad's never acted, never done any acting before. He doesn't have a theatre background.
Wow.
He just kind of loved wrestling before I started watching it. He was really big on wrestling. I have fond memories of him wrestling me in the pool and like naming these moves and stuff. And I, at the time, had no idea and stuff. And then when I started watching wrestling, he was like, I used to watch this back in the 90s. And I was like, no way. And I remember like asking him questions.
So he's razor edging you in the pool, and you had no idea that he was doing
100%.
that.
He would do this move. It was funny. I don't know if you remember. I used to tag with this guy called the Jukebox Hero. He was like 6'8" when I was the red and yellow. So the group was him, my dad, and myself. And my dad used to do this move on me in the pool called the big-eared bunny drop, where he'd grab you by the ears and then kind of do the Bubba slam, the Bubba Ray Dudley slam.
Yeah.
And then I told Big Mike about it. I was like, my dad used to do that. And then Big Mike was big enough, so he started doing that in his matches. Like, and I just thought it was full circle. Like my dad just watching this move he would do in the pool to me, and now he's just fully watching this move occur like on live events in front of a paying audience. And it's working. It's getting over.
I think
it's super fun having him there.
Awesome.
I think one of the most fun facts about you and your dad is there's been a good portion of your career together where you have not filled him in as to anything that's going to be going on in a segment or a match as a bit of a rib, and just to see what goes down.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember like we've had a lot of international talents come over, and every time I've wrestled them, like my dad's been at ringside, and I would say 9 times out of 10 they turn to my dad, and because he's my manager, and they'll talk to him like he like should know the business. I'm like, when we do this heat spot here, using all the jargon and stuff.
Yeah.
And I have to pull them aside and I tell them, hey, we haven't filled my dad in on anything. Like he just kind of knows the spot he needs to do. And that's it. He doesn't really know who's winning, doesn't really know what's happening, doesn't really know like how it all works and stuff. But to me, it gives such a genuine reaction for his character and like him, because he's not really an actor, but 9 times out of 10, the reaction he gives is just genuine. Like he's just genuinely watching. And he says it too, like he'll be watching my match and he's like, I'll forget sometimes that I got a spot coming up because I'm just enjoying the match. Like he's a fan first. So like he's just sitting there. It's good now that I've got a group like Liam Erickson and Tyler Ernst who can be like, hey, this is your spot now. But yeah, so my dad's like, we purposely kind of left him out of the loop just to like, I would say it's a rib, but then it's also like a good way to get a genuine reaction out of someone that's not an actor. Like, and in a way it's worked. Like he's more over than I am, I would say. Like he's probably the most over person on the cut. Like everyone that comes up to me like, your dad was amazing. I'm like, perfect. Keep him. Like
it must be so good for your relationship as well.
Oh yeah,
you're a really close knit family, right? The four of you, but it must be kind of cool having your dad out there.
And your sister last time out as well.
Yeah, she's been training hard out. She's looking to get back in that ring full time now. So time will tell, brilliant. I guess, when that happens. Hopefully she keeps at it and stuff. So it's cool just to have the whole family back in. We just got to get my mum involved.
Yeah. Come on,
who doesn't want a bar of wrestling at all?
Oh, you'll get her. You'll get her, mate. Take us through that first New Zealand Championship win. It must have been pretty incredible, going from discovering wrestling with, Batista and Triple H, and then just discovering there's a New Zealand scene and being a fan of that and doing your training and eventually becoming the guy. What did that feel like when you first won the championship? Was it a holy shit moment? Was it a little bit surreal, or was it just like it's just another match and my progression in my career?
It was very emotional that night. Very emotional that night. I recall jumping when I started with the likes of like Liam Fury and Brian St. James, and this isn't a dig on anyone, but when you start, I think you're kind of typecast into like if you're going to be champion or not and stuff. And right. I definitely wasn't. Like I was like, I think my size and just how I was, and this isn't a dig on anyone. It's just like a first glance judgment. I think I was put in that category of like, oh, he'll be a good performer maybe, but won't be championship guy. Whereas guys like Liam Fury and Brian St. James were put in there. So I think like a majority of my early career, I was just content. I was like, oh, I'll never be champ, but like, it's cool to be involved in it still, and this is still a lot of fun and stuff. But then as the years went on, it slowly started like tipping to like, oh, you could be champ, like, and then I remember like the absolute turning point was like 2013. We lost a lot of guys. I don't know. I think a lot of guys went overseas and there was a lot of injuries. And at this point, I had been going down to WPW a lot. I was the only guy working two promotions at the time consistently. And I'd go down to WPW and I was learning down there. And it was the same thing there. I wasn't really a top guy down there. But the same thing happened there. I slowly started tipping, and then it got to the point where I was doing a lot of mains down there. And then I think in a way that influenced the decision up here in Auckland. And then that tipped it to the point where like Alf, who was a real big supporter of me at the time, still is, who pretty much taught me a lot of everything I know, Alf. He really he was the one that was really pushing for me to be in that main event scene. So then as that started happening, I started getting more and more like involved in main events and stuff. And I recall like 2013 getting told, I was like, we might consider putting this thing on you. And I remember for that full year, I was like, man, this is possible. I've just got to kind of work my ass off for it and stuff. So then you fast forward to 2015, which was 2 years later. Man, that night I remember like being so nervous. And at that point I'd stepped up into a bigger role in the company, like not just a performer. I was kind of helping running the shows a bit more with Danny Jacobs and stuff. So I had it was kind of good in a way because that distracted me from the match. So we ran the show, and then I remember leading up to the match, I was so nervous. It was like my heart was beating through my chest. And then when I got out there, it was fine. The match wasn't hard at all and stuff because the wrestling's very second nature to me. It was just the anticipation, just trying to get it out there. And then having that moment with my father and my mother coming in the ring and stuff when you win, I genuinely cried and stuff. So it was quite a cool moment.
Yeah, very cool.
You talk about how you weren't big back then. You've obviously done a lot of work on your physique in the last sort of decade because dude is jacked right now, man. I'm good mates with Nico at TNA. I work with Nico, and he says you do a lot of work in the gym. But you look at a guy like Joseph Cruz, right? And like he doesn't look like a world champion, but boy, can that kid connect with an audience, right? Like he's just got this innate ability to make people root for him. So what sort of advice do you give a guy like Joseph or a young kid coming through that might not be looking like Batista or Obafemi, but has the charisma that potentially in the future could be a world champion?
I think it's just important to hit the gym because like we're in such an image sport. Like Joseph Cruz is an amazing performer, but he doesn't have to be Batista. He doesn't have to be my size. But he just has to reach the point physically where his body will allow him at the gym to look amazing.
Yeah.
So he just works to what his body allows him. And I say this for everyone. Everyone has a threshold. Like I couldn't get ripped and shredded like Robbie Eagles or, like John Morrison. But I can go to the point where my body looks like big enough to like, really good threshold there. Everyone has that threshold. So for Joseph Cruz, he's just got to find that threshold. And if he just gyms every day, eats like tons of protein, eats quite clean and stuff, really focuses on his calories and like really puts in a lot of effort, which he's already doing, I think like he'll go from that next step to the next step to the next step. And that's all it is, because you've always got these ceilings. And until you shatter that ceiling, like you'll kind of just be at that position there. And I learned that the hard way. Like I would say I've only really become a good wrestler the last 2 years. Everything from there on, I wouldn't consider myself a good wrestler, just because I never really embraced the gym and stuff. I was entertaining, sure, but like for me, like the wrestler I wanted to be, I had to go to the gym, and like I wasn't doing it enough. And now that I really like, I go 6 days a week now. I really like I feel bad if I don't go. So I think it's really important for every wrestler. It's like I said, it's an image sport or an image-based sport. You have to look the best you can. You don't have to look like Batista, but if you can look the best you can, then you're gonna do amazing.
This is the hooligan Marcus Cole, and you are listening to That Sweet Pop. Let's have it!
Welcome back, folks. So that is part one of our two-part interview with James Shaw, a legend in the making of New Zealand professional wrestling. And like I said, probably the hardest worker in this era of New Zealand wrestling. We're going to crack straight into the Tu Meke Trophy this week, Brad. There is only one man we can give it to, Drew McIntyre, WWE champion, the most patient man in wrestling.
100% Scottish Warrior, deserves this moment. He deserves this title reign. I hope it goes a fair decent amount of time for the man. He is as over as anyone. He's believable as anyone, and this was the right decision made at the right time. It reflects well for Cody and for Drew. And yeah, mate, given what happened to this man during COVID, where he got his moment taken away from him, he deserves this and all the accolades that come with it. Drew McIntyre, you are 100% worthy of, as anyone has been, of the Tu Meke Award here on That Sweet Pop.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of talk that this has changed what WrestleMania will be. I don't know if that's true. It would have potentially changed things if there's been a massive change in direction, but I don't know. I think we've seen this coming for a while, or at least hoped that it would be coming for Drew McIntyre.
You certainly did.
Yeah, well, maybe my predictions for WrestleMania might come true. We will see. All depends on who wins the Royal Rumble, which is just a couple of weeks away. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us again here for That Sweet Pop. We are back week in and week out. If you want to catch us, our episodes drop Mondays at 8 p.m. right here on YouTube. Or if you want to hear the audio version, we're now on YouTube Music and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And of course, on our socials on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. All right, a lot of news in the last month, a lot more to come. It's going to be a big year in wrestling. It's going to be a make or break for a lot of these companies. We're going to talk about it throughout the year right here on That Sweet Pop. Until next week, have a good one, everybody.